Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. This is a series of spotlights on remarkable exit planning advisors from across the country. And joining me on this segment is Wayne Slavitt. He's the founder of the PrimeMark Group and the author of the book titled Run It Like You'll Sell It. Wayne, welcome to the program.
Very nice to be here. Thanks, Mark.
Wayne, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically let us know who are the types of clients that you specialize in helping and working with.
Sure. Well, Mark, my work is the result of over 43 years in business. About half of that has been in starting and growing companies and selling them off in the C-level suite, CEO, corporate controller, CFO. And the other half of my career, Mark, has been in helping other people get ready for a sale. You know, you probably know the statistics. There's 10,000 people per day in this country turning 65. It's going to be that way for several more years. The wealth transfer is incredible right now. And the thing I've noticed over the past 43 years is the one thing that's missing from a successful transaction is the lack of proper planning. That what ends up happening is a business owner doesn't prepare, and all of a sudden something happens. Could be positive, where they get an unsolicited offer. It could be on the negative side, where they might be going through a divorce, have a disability, a disagreement. We call these the 5 Ds in exit planning. And those are unplanned events that happen every day. So if we can get out ahead and start to prepare for the sale, to start that process today. Whenever I sign my books, it's always start today. If we can get started today and put time on our side, we know we can affect positive change.
Business owners are great at their craft and thinking growth, growth, growth. But when it comes to exit planning, is it a situation where they don't know what they don't know? Or what are their preconceived notions about what exit planning is about?
Sure. And that's a really good question, Mark. Most business owners are only going to have one opportunity to sell their company. When they put their company on the market, they engage in an investment banking firm or an M&A consultant or a business broker, perhaps. They're going to have one chance to get it right. And as you know, if you've never done something before and you're going to do it for the first time, you're not that good at it. You know, you learn from repetition. You learn from doing it over and over and over again. I've done countless transactions. I know the process. And so if we can get the business owner to realize that putting time on his or her side will benefit the process, then we're way ahead of the game.
Tell us about your book, Run It Like You'll Sell It. Like, what inspired you to write that book, and what is the main message you want to get across from it?
Sure. I've always wanted to write a book. I love authors, and I think the ability to concisely put down in writing your thoughts is not easy. It looks easy, and you see someone's book and you say, I could have done that. So I decided during COVID I was going to allocate a certain amount of time every day to working on this book. And the main thesis of the book, Mark, it's called Run It Like You'll Sell It. And then the subtitle is Adopting the Seller's Mindset to Maximizing the Value of Your Business. So the premise is, just like you have a go bag, I live in Southern California, we have earthquake kits we keep in our car, in our house. Military people know the go bag concept very well of being race ready. So if you get that call to get out there, you're ready to go. I tell my owners this: we don't know always when you're going to receive that unsolicited offer. So why not be prepared? And the analogy that I use is that of a house. If you woke up this morning, Mark, and said, you know what, I think I'm going to sell my house, you most likely would not put a for sale sign out in front today. You would interview a couple of real estate agents. You would choose one. You would invite that person to come walk your property. You would point out certain things you've done to your property. And maybe you'll discover also, through the help of this professional, things that you need to work on before you can have that open house. And that might be replacing carpeting. Maybe the roof is a little, not in good shape. Perhaps inside there's a chip on the porcelain in the bathroom. Any number of little things that could potentially give the buyer reason to say, yeah, I'm not sure I want to buy the house for the price that you're advertising it at. Now, before anyone starts to say you don't know what you're talking about, Wayne, I know the real estate market is hot right now. I know it's been kind of crazy, especially in some of the high sought after markets. But still in all, the concept does still hold that you're likely going to want your house to look as good as possible so that when buyers do come in, they're seeing a house that they can move right into, and it requires very little effort. The same thing is true for a buyer of a company. Now, a buyer of a company is not going to be so concerned about how nice the carpet looks necessarily. They're going to get deeper into it. So the approach that I take is I tell my clients, I have one goal and we're going to focus on two variables. So the one goal is during my engagement, we're going to do all we can to maximize the value of your business. Whatever it's worth today, and we do a benchmark valuation. What are we starting with? Where is it going to be down the road? And we want to be able to show positive growth, obviously. So how do we do that? We focus on two variables. The first variable we focus on is growing earnings. And in our profession, Mark, and you've probably heard the term EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It's the currency of selling a company. Focusing on that's important. We're going to want to grow that. Whatever your level is at today, let's do what we can to grow revenues, to keep expenses under control, so we're showing positive growth in earnings. Buyers like that. Buyers like to see a nice linear path of growth. The second thing we focus on, which is probably the more important of the two factors, is business risk. And I define business risk in my book as any aspect of your business that will make it difficult for a potential buyer to predict your future. So what might that be? That could be litigation, for example. If you're a company that's involved in a regular basis on litigation, for me, if I'm going to buy your company, that's a risk factor. Because what it does, it doesn't allow me to predict what next year might look like. I don't know what lawsuit we're going to be involved with. I don't know how much it's going to cost. And I also don't know if we're going to win. So taking all those into account, that's a risk factor. So what we do, our process is to identify as many of those risk factors as possible so that we can try to address them and at least reduce them, if not eliminate them, before we go to market.
Fascinating. Wayne, what inspired you to get into this line of work and help business owners, with their exit planning? How did you get started?
Well, I got started early in my career. I had gone to work for one of the big, at the time, you can tell how old I am, Mark, one of the big 8 accounting firms. They've since whittled down to the big 4. But I went to go work for one of those firms, and I didn't really enjoy it. Auditing was not my thing. I was hoping to learn a lot about different companies, and I was put on the largest account in the office for 9 months, and any number of things didn't work out. And I had published my senior thesis in college, and one of my roommates' father, who had just sold his company to a large holding company in New York, got a hold of the publication and forwarded it on to the CEO of the large holding company, who said, "Let's hire this guy." I was 23 years old at the time, very, very, very wet behind my ears. And I was contacted by my roommate's father, who said, "You want to be my corporate controller of 5 companies that we now have?" And I couldn't find a way to say no. And it was one of the better decisions I made up to that point in time. And over the next 6 years, I became moved from the corporate controller's position to the VP of finance position of 2 companies we merged together, and then merged a 3rd company together, and then prepared it and sold it to a British company. That was my first exposure to that, if you will. And it was fascinating. I just thought this was a fascinating process. After that was sold, I took some time off and got called by the same roommate's father, who said, "I got another project for you." There's a manufacturing company, the largest manufacturer of this particular product. And I can't be more specific about it just because of issues around it. But I was hired to get the company ready for sale over an 18-month period of time. And being exposed to those kinds of things, as well as being a principal in some of my own companies, gave me a really good perspective to understand what it takes to get a company ready for sale, both as a consultant and also as what it's like to be on the inside of a company going through a sale.
Fascinating. Wayne, before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think to ask regarding exit planning that you feel is important to share with business owners and founders considering selling now or in the near future?
Sure, Mark. I'll tell you a conversation I had with a company that signed up. We're going to get started in 2 weeks, getting their company ready for sale. And what I do with every prospective client is I'm very honest with them about the process. This is not going to be a casual process. This is not going to be the kind of thing we can pick up and work on for 15, 20 minutes at a time. This is a concerted effort. And it's one of the reasons I'm involved. You'll see in my book there's a chapter on the value quarterback, and that's the role that I play. I'm in charge of making sure that we're growing the value of the company. And the reason I like to be in charge, not only because I'm a control freak, but if I'm in charge, the owner knows that they're not out there alone trying to do this process. I have some owners who think once we get started, they can take over, and they do, and they're fine. But a lot of business owners, as we talked about earlier, don't have that experience. So with my presence there and that of people I work with that I bring on projects, we're able to put our arms around the project and let the owner know that we're there for him or her. This is a very intimate process. It will take time. There will be bumps in the road. There will be delays. I had a client call me up and say, I got an unsolicited offer and they want to close our deal in 20 days. It's a big private equity group. And I spit the coffee out that I was drinking while I was talking to him. And I said, 20 days. I said, have you done any work yet with them? He says, no, but they're really nice people. And they say, we'll be done in 20 days. I said, it's going to be 4 to 6 months minimum, and you need to be prepared for that. Anyway, it took 17 months to get the deal done because of some real interesting market complications. But I'm just really honest with my clients. To be able to get the results we want to get, to be able to make the process smooth, there's no other way to do it than with both feet forward and putting your shoulder into it to make sure that we're doing everything to represent the company in the best possible light to get the best results.
For business owners listening right now who would love to speak with you, how can they find you, connect with you, learn more, and tell them how to get a copy of your book too?
Absolutely. So a couple of ways to get a hold of me. One would be through my LinkedIn page, Wayne Slavitt, and Slavitt is spelled S as in Sam, L-A-V as in Victor, I-T-T. My company's name is the PrimeMark Group, and you can go to our webpage there. It's Prime, P-R-I-M-E, Mark, M-A-R-K, Group, Group.com, all one word. Click on the page called The Book. If you are a business owner that has revenues of at least $5 million, I'd like to send you a free copy of the book. No obligation. I'm not going to hound you. I'm not going to show up at your house and wonder why you haven't hired me. The book speaks for itself, and what I've done in the past speaks for itself. And if you want to get a copy of the book, you can buy it on Amazon. Run it like you'll sell it. Just put that in the search bar on Amazon. But if you'd like to get a copy free, go to my website. And the offer, Mark, for a free copy also extends to the advisory group, the trusted advisors, the CPA, the wealth advisor, the insurance broker, the attorney. Everyone is going to be sitting around that table as we go through this process. If they also would like a copy of the book, I'm using it as a conversation starter. This process is kind of difficult to get an owner to agree to talk about. Let's get the process started, and that's what the purpose of the book is. So if anyone would like to have a copy of the book, all I ask is that your company be at least $5 million in revenues, because we need some infrastructure in the company to make this most effective.
Fantastic. Wayne, this has been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
And to you as well, Mark. Thanks for including me. I appreciate it.
That was Wayne Slavitt, founder of PrimeMark Group and the author of the book titled Run It Like You'll Sell It. And this segment was brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.